everyone. We are the Wellness Media Group, and we did an analysis of social media preferences at St. Edward's University. Cheyenne Diaz will start with our introduction. Following her will be Lariah Smith with primary research. Then it will be me, Giselle Valdez, with secondary research. Monica Sabatucci with findings and conclusions, and then Merritt Steves with recommendations. To start us off will be Cheyenne.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne, like Giselle said, and I will be introducing the client and the problem that we're helping solve. First, I'm going to start off with the mission statement of the Health and Counseling Center, which is to provide high-quality integrated health, counseling, and wellness services to support our diverse student population in achieving their highest potential. And to start, the Health and Counseling Center is broken down into 3 divisions: the health services, counseling services, the wellness and outreach services. The health services have to do with the medical stuff, like nurses will tend to you. The counseling services, you could go in there and talk about any problems, any emotional problems you're going through, need help talking about. The wellness and outreach services provide events and programs all around campus about information of healthy living, healthy lifestyles. Some examples of these events are the Relationship Violence Month and all the services within that month. The Health and Counseling Center is here on campus. Their hours are stated above. They provide all of their medical and counseling center for all students by appointment. You don't need any insurance, just show up when your appointment is scheduled. They have after hours, off-campus medical assistant, urgent area care clinics, and this is located on their page on the St. Edward's website. And knowing the specific client we are helping with, which is Pete Erickson, MA, his master's is in psychology and sociology. He joined the Health and Counseling Center in September 2010. He's a licensed professional counselor, coordinator of the wellness and outreach services. And the problem he has come to us was attendance hasn't been as high as expected for the events and programs that they are holding. The people are aware of events, but there's lack of analytics. There's also lack of analytics, and there's minimal advertisement on social media. So now I'm going to pass it to Lariah for primary research.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, then. So as Cheyenne said, I'm Lariah Smith. I'm just going to discuss primary research that we went through, our collection methods, and then also do an analysis of what we found. So we distributed a total of 200 surveys. We did this to achieve a 95% level of confidence. We just wanted to make sure that all the results that we found were actually reflective of the student population and body, and 200 was the perfect number for that. So the process that we underwent was we developed the questions. We wanted to make sure our questions were actually reflective or actually addressed the problem we sought to answer. And then we received approval from Michelle, our professor, and Pete. You also came in and discussed some recommendations for that. And we made the necessary edits for that to make sure that our surveys were actually going to be effective. And then we finalized and distributed them. So primarily, we reached students, and we also had some faculty and staff. The surveys are primarily distributed in classrooms, in university offices, and then also in common areas. So now I'd like to discuss do an analysis of our primary research. We had a total of 194 surveys returned, and then of these, we also took out some that were invalid. A survey was deemed invalid if it only, there was one question that was missing, unless we indicated they could miss that, such as for like the box questions that you answered, I'm aware of, or I've attended. Otherwise, if they skipped the question that the answer was actually needed, we had to take that one out as invalid. Also, they had more than one answer for a question, then we took that one out as well, because we didn't want to be like presumptuous and then just assume that we knew the person's answer. We wanted to make sure that we had answers that reflected what they intended to reflect. We met a remaining number of 189 surveys after that, once we took out the invalids, and we used those for analysis. we divided our surveys into 3 different demographics. We did lower undergraduates. We had 41 of those, and this is basically freshmen and sophomore respondents. We also had upper undergraduates, who were the seniors and juniors of a group, and we had 148 of those respond. And then we also had some staff and faculty, but they were really too minimum to really, I guess, reflect the group. And so that sample size was too small to like really get a consensus of how staff and faculty felt about this. So primarily we focused on students. So then here are some beautiful graphs that just illustrate what we saw when we got back as results. One of our questions we asked, what was the person's preferred social media and method? We found that 68% of people said that they prefer Facebook. So hands down, Facebook is the most preferred method of social media. We also saw, we asked about how frequently someone uses social media, like how many hours a day they're on there. Our answers were, the top 2 answers were less than 2 hours and from 2 to 4 hours. As you can see, like those 2 answers make up 80%, over 80% of that graph. And so people, there's a small window where you can reach them. And one reason that's noteworthy is because you have to consider that people are dividing their time amongst all these different platforms. And not just that, but they're also within those platforms, within Facebook, among these different pages and stuff. And so you have to consider the fact that you want them to be on your page and everything. And you have basically at the most like 4 hours to really reach the majority of those people. And then also the number of Facebook St. Ed's pages that they follow, we also measured that as well. We saw that 58% people said that they follow 1 to 4 pages. So not too many, but that's the number that we got back for that. So then this graph just reflects the preferred mediums that people like to be reached out to, or how they are aware or come across these different events. Interestingly, we found that banners and posters and flyers were like the big way that people found out about events. We divided these into 2 different categories as well, based on if it's a St. Edward's event or a health and counseling center event. For both groups, majority of the people indicated that they learned about them through banners, posters, and flyers. And then also social media was the next big one for St. Edward's. It was 56 people said that they learned about St. Edward's events through social media, in comparison to 36 who learned about the health and counseling center's events. One reason that we suspected this is because the the St. Ed's has its own like Facebook page. It's really, really huge. And then the Health and Counseling Center, they use the peer health educators to that Facebook site to advocate their things instead of having like really just a committed page to that. Also for student e-news, what's interesting is that we found that a lot of people, 50 people said that they learned about the Health and Counseling Center's events through that. In comparison to St. Ed's, there's only 21 people. And tables of the 4, as you can see, 13 people said that they learned about St. Ed's events through tables, and 5 through learned about Health and Counseling Center events. And so you can see that that's just like a really, really small number in comparison to the other ones. So that's something definitely worth, that's noteworthy as well. We also asked a question that tried to see like how many people engaged in social media through their cell phones, and 72% of people said that they do. They use their cell phones to access social media, and that was a significant find. As in terms of the percentage of people who feel inclined to attend an event if they learn about the social media, that wasn't really a clear indication of whether or not, or like I guess people who prefer to learn about through social media more than who didn't. So it was like 50-50 for this one. Our data didn't really show anything significant for that question. And then here's a graph finally that just shows like how many people are aware of the Health and Counseling Center's events. And we broke this into like different months, like the Relationship Awareness Month, Relationship Violence Awareness Month, awareness of the Body Awareness Month, that sort of thing. Here, we had some pretty good results. People were aware of these events that they happened. The most noteworthy find I'd say was this one right here for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. 115 people said that they aren't aware of that in comparison to 134 people who said that they are. So that's just like a different number that we found. And besides that high number, all the rest of them was majority said that they were actually aware of this. So that being said, I'm going to pass this on to Giselle Valdez, who's going to discuss our secondary research findings. And Giselle, yeah. You're welcome.
Okay, like Mariah said, I covered secondary research, and so since we were primarily social media, that was my research. I did social media metrics, which is a very big deal when it comes to online marketing. A lot of people don't realize that there is a very wide, in-depth, vast vocabulary of things that have to do with social media metrics now. So one thing that is key to do is measure the analytics. I didn't mention a lot, I just mentioned 3 right here that I found were pretty important for this project. One being engagement. It's key. That is probably the most essential thing that you want to do when you're marketing online, which is engage your audience. You have to come up with some formula, something that looks attractive that's really going to engage them and retain them, because not only do you want them to go to it, you want them to stay at it. So another metrics that you can follow is a daily active user, which something like Facebook provides that analytic for. So Facebook, if you run a page on Facebook, you can go through and look at analytics. Within these analytics, you're able to see a daily user, monthly user, when your users are on there, when you have a highest population, when you have the lowest population. And this is really key to just noticing what you can repeat, what didn't work, and what you can just completely scrap or make better. And one of the last ones that I feel is really important is a K factor, which goes over the infection rate and the conversion rate. So an infection rate is when someone, it sounds very odd, but it's when you're infected by what you're viewing online, so you're attracted to it. Conversion rate is when you share what you're infected with. Another form of this is qualified reach. And with qualified reach is when there's a 2-step process. So you view something online, but the second process is actually clicking or going towards what is online. And that's something very important for people to do as far as online marketing, because if someone's viewing what you're displaying but not clicking on it, then you're not being completely effective. So that's just a few metrics that you can go over to help online, and especially through Facebook. One of the things that I would like to highlight that universities I found use and all sorts of businesses use for promoting themselves is a hashtag. This is really easy to use as well. So the University of California at Berkeley, their Tang Center, which is the Health and Wellness Center, uses a hashtag called the Health Worker Tip. Now the Health Worker Tip goes through and gives you little tips. Silence your sniffles with some saline solution via a neti pot and give your nose a good blow. Hashtag Health Worker Tip. So once you click on this Health Worker Tip, you're then taken to a list, a feed, if you will, of health worker tips. Students are able to then see all of what the Tang Center talks about tip-wise, and this allows students to engage in health worker tips. Students see that there is a majority of this going on. They can add their own tip, hashtag their own health worker tip. The Tang Center is then able to see who actually engages with this hashtag and if it's actually being effective. Another good thing about Twitter in general is that it allows real-time updates and really allows students to be engaged. So for instance, if there's an event on campus and you provide a specific hashtag for it, then that student will most likely be inclined to tweet about it and hashtag with whatever hashtag you're providing or promoting with. And then you're able to see which students actually engaged and became involved with your hashtag. And it just offers real-time update for what you're promoting on campus, and students are able to see instantly what you're doing. I've researched the following universities just to get an understanding of what they were doing for social media as far as their health center, not specifically the university. The University of Harvard has a completely separate page from their university page. It has a complete different aesthetic and really has a holistic appeal. And they're all about massages and yoga and acupuncture and stress busters, but I found little about social media, actually none, I think. And the University of California at Berkeley was probably the best as far as social media that I found. They provided a Twitter link, a Facebook link, even a YouTube link. If you clicked on their Facebook link, you were able to see instantly what they were actively promoting on their banner, which was to be tobacco-free this year. They were highly involved online, and I thought that was really useful. University of Texas at Austin, I found their information within the university page. It didn't look very unique at all. It was very interesting, kind of hard to understand what exactly the Health and Wellness Center does for them. But I think I summed it up to they pretty much promote other programs, other offices' programs, not specifically have their own. And I did not find any links. And since we noticed the banners and posters and flyers were really effective on campus for students, I did some secondary research on design. And there's just, and prior knowledge that I had was that a main principle that you could follow in design is CRAP, the acronym, which is contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. So as long as you follow all of those, you're really going to produce an effective banner, poster, or flyer. I found this one site that mentioned a few things that I thought were really important as well, which was to grab attention. You really do want to grab attention. Just like when you're putting something online, your key on this poster, banner, or flyer is to get someone's attention. You don't want to overwhelm them though. You want to keep it very simple and you want to keep it very balanced. Everything on the page should look even towards each other, proximity, alignment. Fonts and color are very key. You want to avoid fonts that are very loud, hard to read, Comic Sans, curls, thriller, all of that out of the question. Even if you're trying to go for a certain look, it's not effective. Colors, things that contrast effectively, just very simple. Move the eye. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you're looking at a magazine, newspaper, yearbook, etc., your eye naturally moves across because it's following a certain design on the page. So, for instance, you can go a fourth above the page and have a clear line, or a fourth down the page and have a clear line, and your eye just, for some reason, will automatically follow it. So the same applies to a poster. You want something that flows very nicely down the page, across the page. And then last is break the rules. There are a lot of design rules that make your things look nice, make what you produce look nice, but you can always break the rules if you really are trying to go for something specific. So that concludes my secondary research, and I will hand it off to Monica for findings and conclusion.
Thank you, Giselle. All right, as Giselle said, my name is Monica, and I'm going to be covering, who would have thought, the findings and conclusions. So this is one of the lovely, that's not what I want. This is one of the lovely posters from the Health and Counseling Center for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it. Because we found that most students are aware of these events. The main problem we found with our research, as Lariah said, was that there's a lot of awareness but not very much retention for the events based on how the marketing is being pursued. So the banners are working. The social media is kind of working, but since there's not a holistic, specific health and counseling page, it's harder for students to use social media for the Health and Counseling Center, so that's, we think, why there's a lower number for that awareness. But social media is definitely a preferred method of being reached.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
The fact that folks may not be coming to these events, is it because of the advertising, or did you check into the topic? A lot of these topics are very heavy, and folks are more likely to go to things that are less heavy.
Right.
So can you come to that conclusion if you haven't checked into the other part of it?
Well, based on our findings here, most of the events that we tested for have a pretty even and equal awareness and retention rate. They're pretty similar as far as the ratio of aware and attended, or not aware, not attended. We found the most highly attended event was definitely sexual assault awareness events, but which is interesting because I feel like that's like one of the more heavy ones. So it's more of, I think it is a marketing issue. I really do think it's because people seem to enjoy the events whenever they do go, and those people who do go always go, but the people who don't really know the people who, I guess, don't have a sense of what the events are, don't really attend. They just learn about them and realize that they're on campus, but they don't really know what it'll entail.
Yeah, that just brings up a question for me that probably if we were to do this again, what I would think is I would say to you guys, ask them why they're not attending. And I didn't ask that question, you know. So, but that's not yours.
Yeah, we were
Thanks.
focused on
I appreciate it.
social media
Right.
preferences.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as like the topic and stuff, we did try and measure if they're aware of or if they've attended it, but we were trying to see how social media in particular fits into that picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly social media is being used. 1 to 4 pages are usually followed. Like I said, there's not really a retention. But we found that other universities, like Giselle said, are really utilizing social media, and it seems to be really working for them. And pages can be a great tool for someone like Pete who needs to learn who's coming to their events, and it can be used to find out what age group is most likely to visit the page, most likely to actually attend the event, who says that they're going to go to an event and actually does go. Those kinds of things can really help in the marketing as far as targeting freshmen or upperclassmen or even teachers and different others. So that's pretty much our core findings. But now I'm going to pass it off to Merit. She's going to talk about our recommendations.
Thank you. As Monica said, my name is Merritt. I'm going to tell you the recommendations we have found. After going over all of our survey analysis and our secondary research, we came up with 3 main things. We would like the Health and Counseling Center to have a peer health educator. That's main focus is to keep the social platforms up to date. So they could designate a peer health educator. They could invite students and faculty to events on Facebook. They could see who's going, who's a maybe, who's no. And then the students who see this can also see which one of their friends are going. They can have groups that are going to build more of excitement to go to the event. They could also, the peer health educator can have real updates to keep them updated throughout the semester, not only when there are events. We would like you guys to use social media analytics over here. You can see which ones of your posts are more viral, which ones are effective, and being the most engaging so that there is a relationship that's built with your students and you guys so they feel more connected. You can also promote social media pages, not on social media, but at orientations, at involvement fairs, by putting your links on the St. Edward's pages and other Facebook sites so that people are directed towards them and you can grow your numbers through that. So now I'm going to give it back to Lariah to wrap things up.
Thank you. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and conclude our presentation. To just recap, Cheyenne introduced our presentation. She discussed our problem statement, also introduced our client. But the big thing is our problem, and our problem that we identified was that we're trying to see how we could increase the social media presence of the Health and Counseling Center, and we really want to focus on that in particular. So we conducted primary research. We distributed a total of 200 surveys, had received 194 to be analyzed, and then 189 of those were actually analyzed. And we had findings that indicate that people do use social media. They primarily use Facebook, and that they also learn about a lot of things from the Health and Counseling Center currently from banners and posters. And then Giselle discussed our secondary research. She found that it's very important to have metrics to utilize to measure your social media posts and how effective they are. And she also recommended, since banners and posters and flyers are so important, she found statistics that or evidence that showed, how to properly construct those and then how to be more effective in reaching out with them. And then Monica discussed our findings. And so basically our big finding, like I said, was that banners and posters do work and that they are working for you, but there's a low retention to events. And so we really feel like utilizing social media, since a lot of people do that, would help increase the amount of people that actually come to events and repeatedly attend them. And then Mary discussed our our research recommendations, recommendations based on our research. Our primary recommendation is that you utilize a peer health educator to basically manage and update the social media pages and promote events through them and interact with students and faculty through it. And so that's our big recommendations, is just to like really take that time and invest in social media, because it is such a big tool. Like I said, people do use it. We saw from anywhere from 0 to 4 hours a day. There's that window of opportunity there that you can reach out to them with social media, and they can share it to their friends and so forth. So that's our presentation in a nutshell. I just want to say thank you so much, Pete, for allowing us the opportunity to work with you this semester and for giving us such great feedback throughout that helped us develop this. And hopefully you're happy with the results. And if anyone has any questions, now's the time to ask them.